Hi, this is Jeff White with VersatileFightingArts, and in this case with SBL, Silat kind of still working through a knife platform and kind of working through knife defenses. Today I want to talk a bit about moving, and we'll talk about how to move, concepts and principles to pay attention to when you move, and also then some drills to kind of use given the platform that we have been using from the Silat from their striking system, and we have it with a knife, Djuru. And we'll start working some of the footwork in that. It gives you a platform, just gives you something structured to work with. And as always, my feeling is you use a structured drill until it is so ingrained in you, you no longer need the drill. So you want to have freedom of movement, but a lot of times you got to figure out what movement is available to you, what might be a more skillful use of movement or less skillful, and if it's less skillful, how to protect against vulnerabilities. So when we move, obviously, we have our legs underneath you. The hands will protect you, elbows will protect you, your feet will save you. They'll either put you into position or get you out of position, they'll move you out of the way, they can move you out of the way in between, and then come in for action. It is your feet that move the rest of your being. And this is obvious, I understand, but understand the importance of it. So there's a few things to also look at. One, if I'm up here, knees almost straight, I might feel I can move. I'm actually going to be slower. I'm not going to engage my body and the energy that happens when I sink my legs, and now I have more explosive power that I can move. That I'm not going to get if I'm standing up, especially if my knees are locked. But even if they're not, even if I think I have my knees bent, look at a mirror, get a video, train your video yourself, put it on your phone, watch yourself when you train. And I did this early on, and when my teacher would say, bend your knees, and I'm going, it felt like my knees were bent, because I went from this to this, and it felt like back then my knees were bent, instead of being more down here when we come into play. So, first principle is sink your weight, lower your body, bend your knees, keep your shoulders, your hips in line. Part of the reason for this is that now I've engaged both my upper body and my lower body when I move. Now, when I move, I have a choice of obviously front leg or rear leg. When I'm holding my blade, now, when I'm holding my blade and we're in a knife fight, we are not talking about in a mugging situation or something like that. All of a sudden, we pull out blades. For self-defense, your best option is to run. We already know that. If you cannot run and you must stay and fight, then here's some ideas, and play with them. When I come in, I want my blade always pointed towards my opponent, sharp end towards the opponent. Not here, not playing out here, always 45 degree almost, thereabouts, just kind of low and pointed. Now, I have a principle that I use, that my slashes, my cuts, should not be more than about shoulder width, unless I have a reason for it. And if I need to come out more, I'm going to turn my body a little bit more as I come in. I want to keep things compact. You're going to do this by remembering to keep your elbows to your side and not flaring them out this way. You want to keep them all nice and tucked in. There might be some times when I'm going to seem like I'm going to violate that principle, and that's all right. Why? Because I am. But I do so with intelligence. I do so with intent. But I know if I am lead leg, knife hand, aligned, strong side power. We do this a lot. Now, play with this. If I come here, we do cut, check, cut, check. If I move my live hand and my left leg up, now, if I keep everything where it is, I haven't changed, except moving forward, but now my left hand, my live hand, is on par and actually a little bit in front of my blade hand. This will trigger me at times to use my blade, my live hand a little bit more. You want to be careful about that, okay? It doesn't mean there's not times when I may have to use that if I'm coming in, stepping in, and I'm going to seal or grab, but almost always, I want to always lead with my knife. I can do knife, check, I can cut, check. Every once in a while, I need to clear and get my cut. So there's going to be times. So when we initially start with beginners, we say, don't use the live hand. Don't use it to block. We just want to train to get this out of the picture. Then, same as we do with empty hand, we tell the white belts and yellow belts, don't do this. And then somewhere around green and blue and brown, we go back to that and say, remember we said don't do this? Now we're going to say do this, but I'm going to show you a more intelligent way of using it. And that's kind of what happens here. So I just want to be in this position. So my weight distribution will also be dependent a lot of times on the style in which you already train in. I tend, when I'm in here, my heel tends to be down. I like waiting on this foot. If I'm beginning to move in, I'm going to sink and my heel comes up a little bit and I can use that to propel myself forward. At times I can also push my heel down and that momentary spring gives me another way to push forward. It will depend in part on topography. It will depend on what I'm after, what just happened. This gives me the perceived opening to come in. So there's a lot of reasons for this, but play with it. I'm not one who, like a point fighter, that always stays on the balls of their feet. And you know, the reason is you're more nimble, you're always moving. That's good. I tend to be, personally, a little more flat-footed in here. You see me, if I raise this heel up, it's just a little bit, and it's that forward line of intention that I'm looking at when I'm coming in. Now, when this happens, when I'm coming in, I need to be able to move. All right, so here's my stance. I'm seated, sinking my weight, so I'm engaging my low line. By sinking my weight, it gives me lots of power. When I sink on the downward from a vertical axis, it gives me more power horizontally. So this is where I want to be. All right. Now, when I start to move, this is going from SBL. This is our ready stance for something. And this is just a traditional, I'm here. Really in the street, I'm probably going to be just more, we've already gotten here. We got here through an L step, which we've already covered. So we've already looked at this L step. And see, now you see with this L step, I'm going left forward. I'm going to make a habit of sticking this out. Okay, so there's my L step. Now, within the Silat world, you have Senpak and Deepak, which is simply Senpak, front leg, it's just step back, step behind. Alright? And then we also have step forward, Deepak, is back leg, goes to the front. So we do this all the time when we move. If I'm over here and I'm left forward and I move, now I take my right foot and I move it in front. So it's either step forward or step behind. You can also step off to the side here. So it's nothing mystical. It just is, it's a great, I like using the terms of Senpak and Deepak, just because it's what I had first learned them. I can also just say, step back behind, step forward, okay? And we can do this on different levels as I come in, and you know, we can play, you know, when we get into Silat, we begin to start changing levels as we come in and coming down. That's more functional uses of the same step. when we're looking at this, say now with the Bukalungaran, so when I come in, you know, somebody may swing and I may step back. When I step back, notice I am crossing. I'm not just stepping back here. I'm off balance. But when I actually cross, and this is more to do with more Silat styles, when I come in, I cross, but my weight sinks in the middle. As I come forward, now different schools will have different ideas on this, different styles. Some of my styles that I've trained in always say your knee, your toes are always front, because and face for the front, always alignment, because this is what gives you that power to come forward. In this, we're sinking, so as I explode forward, I come in, I fade back. Now I want to come in. As I push off this back foot, the ball of my foot, working off that pad of the big toe, I kind of roll from the pad of little foot, little toe to big toe here, almost a chicken step from Shingi to come in. So I'm down, and I use it to spring. So I come back, in, back, in. So play with that and feel what it takes to get that spring into your step. When we come in, maybe he's giving me a swing, he's giving me a stab. I'm going to get a quick little cross, get out of the way of it. Can I come here? Yes. Maybe he came in very fast. Maybe he came in with a lot of aggression, and I just moved out of the way, and now I'm in. Now, whenever I begin to move, a principle is I don't go back to just the same spot. So if I went from here to here, you know, that's kind of, I have to move, I want to change. I don't want to stay here. It is important to always be moving. With knife fights, you have both a defensive and an offensive mindset. If you stay in defensive, same way I feel about empty hand, if I'm just staying in defensive, eventually I'm going to get hit, I'm going to get caught, because I'm always being reactive to what's happening. If my opponent is always at least a half beat to a beat ahead, because he initiated the action. I need to overcome that and begin to initiate my own action, and I need to have some offense with that. The fight really only ends, in most cases, if we then produce an offensive move. Otherwise, we're working defense until we can get, hopefully find an opening and begin to exploit that. But we want to be able to, I think, if you go to pull the blade, you need to have that offensive as well as a defensive mindset. So when it comes in. So you can look at this senpok. I can look at this deepok. Now just remember what you did when we came up and we stepped to the outside, and we did this all the time in empty hand, right? And I left open this femoral artery down here. When we step with knife, we like to step with this inside leg, because getting cut on here is not fun. Getting cut on here can be very painful and debilitating, but getting cut deeply enough here in femoral artery is life-threatening. I can then begin to move. Now some people would say, well, if you come back here, aren't your legs crossed? Yes, momentarily, but I'm also aware of it, so I can also change. If he still begins to rush, I can then change. And I still have all my tools that are available. So you need to do it intelligently. Now, when we start looking at the platform that we're using, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the, so remember, with this platform is built upon the blocking season, blocking drills for SBL, and the blocking platform. So this is block number 1, this is block number 2, block number 3, block number 4. All right. So those are the 4 blocks that we use for this platform. And with the blade, it'll come up. I can use this as a draw. But I'm in, check, slice up, slice down, check again, stab low, stab high, slice, third block comes up diagonal. I'm on the inside, move slightly, slice down. Come here for the slice. This leads us into 4. 4 catches that arm coming in, block, check, cut, hits the back of the head, insert into torso, slash, and slash. Beginners, big movements. More seasoned, keep that right here. You're using your whole body to move, and your elbow is really kind of staying right at your side. So instead of here, it's here, and then to the back of the neck. Now, if I want to work on my stepping, then I might go, I've already had the blade pulled. We'll go from the blade being pulled. I might go, here's one coming in, I'm going to block it, but I'm going to step back. Now I'm going to check, now I'm going to come in. Now I'm beginning to work on the movements. I'm going to come in. So this was working on this movement, the initial block. I decided to cut and step back, whereas we would have gone and then in again. So we come in, and now I'm going to step and finish out my sequence. The biggest issue with this, and the lesson in this, is not necessarily that you're going across using the sequence from the platform, which is beneficial and it helps you with the reps to burn that in, but you just want to keep moving. I don't want to get stationary and stuck here. Even if I am flat-footed or slightly raised on my heel, I want to keep my knife moving. I want to keep my body moving. And I'm not just moving with my wrist and my hands. I can be moving with body. What is the benefit of this? Physics. Because it's easier to move and manipulate and change a body in motion than coming from inertia, from being inert. So here, if I'm just waiting, I actually have, there's a fraction of a second I'm going to lose before I can engage. If I'm moving, when I see, I can move. That's the important part with this. So, we use Deepak coming in, all right, to play. I can also come in and I can use my Senpak. But now I'm starting to change angles if I just stay where I am. And then I can move back. So with this, I can choose on beat 1, back, side. I can also move this way and then come back. So maybe I need to get out of the way. So now maybe this angle's coming in, and maybe I can catch it. I can either come down, that's what we're doing out of our form, but this is a mirror of this. So maybe I come here. Alright, now there's my cut. I moved out of the way. I want to come in, but I don't want to come right where I was before. So I come in, I might just step up here. And now I'm just going to finish my series. So my steps where I could come back, I could come back, I could step forward, I could step forward, I could step around, and this brings me off to the side. We'll use that. Maybe I'm cutting, there's another swing that's coming, and I'm going to catch that, and we use this. At times, arm bars coming down. I've used this at other times just to clear, get off to the side. But it puts me in a position where my opponent is straight on towards me, and depending upon the depth of this strike, will put me into about a 45 degree to a 90 degree angle to my opponent. gives me more of an advantageous position until he moves or until I move. The whole idea is this is constantly moving in flux, and we're changing positions, trying to jockey for a better position, or at least get out of the way of where this blade is going to come. And that's what we're after with this. Alright, so I come down, I come in, I'm through. Now, for number 2, the number 2 block, same thing applies. I may come through check and do an insert. This is my low. I can come low, I can here. In the form that we're using, we come low palm down, up palm high. Because if I'm coming in, say with an angle of 5, or gut check, or gut shot, and he parries my hand, that's my next move up. So it's a natural flow that comes with it. But I don't always have to have palm down or palm up. I can do high and low with palm down if I wish. So same thing applies when I come in. I may want to push, all right? And now I can clear, and the whole idea of just using the platform to finish your sequence is just to keep the movement going. Don't get stuck in your mind just because I moved and then I stop. Maybe I made contact with him. Maybe I know that the fight is now over. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I thought, and maybe that's the length of my blade. I'm using more of a K-bar, but maybe a little one, I just poked him a little bit, but not enough to stop him. So I need to be able to keep going, and I can change. Once again, we're moving. So I can step back. I can check. Maybe I got one coming in, another hand's coming in, came in close, I checked. Now I'm going to come in again. What happens then if I come down and I check and I can shuffle in, same side, I'm still using that front leg, I'm just moving over. I can come in once, as we talked about, working on this left side. Doing to the side, kind of same thing. Maybe I come down, I do a low, I do a check, and now I'm going to move off to the side. I tend to do this more if I'm going to catch this hand and I want to get a sweep, but I can also just use it to get off to the side and get away. Looking at number 3 is the diagonal up. Same thing, play with the simpak. And I may come in for the block, explode out for the slice. Would make more sense. This hand's coming in, he's close, I come away, I come back. Alright, so now I can also come in, deepak, cut. I can come across, and now I'm looking at more of a slice coming down. But the same thing, I went from here to here. So I come in, I'm blocking the hand to get in, and now I have a cut, come in. So variations. I can do the same thing when I come up, and I just step out if I want to move. Same things, same principles will always apply. When I'm doing the number 4, and that was big, but 1, 2, 3, 4, and here, there are times I can't cut and use this to help pull, gives me some momentum to come inside. So I can come through, I can step in to take his arm. Remember, when I move this hand, that arm will come, but I have my slice. So I'm coming in here, there's my slice. If I'm coming in on the back, I'm changing angles, but I'm also changing my distance. So it depends on what my opponent has done. My opponent has moved in, he's taken a step in, then maybe, yes, I need to move to the outside a little bit more. You play with these angles, and instead of thinking about I can't do this or I should not do this, think instead about what's the most skillful use of movements, what is not as skillful, which means you have more vulnerabilities, and what would not be a good idea. Not that it's wrong, because honestly I have found that every movement has a place, and I have always been under the inner direction to train regardless of where my feet are. Because if I'm just standing here, somebody pulls a knife, you know, I can't sit there and go, oh, and I'm here. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be able to say, okay, now we're engaged. And my training will still take me so that I'm going to be, in most cases, right side. I'm actually left-handed, so we train left hand and right hand, but most, 85% of people are right-handed, so we end up training and fighting a lot like this. I will tell you now, we're not going to go into it, if you are a left-handed blade carrier, it will put you at a distinct advantage in many cases in dealing, because now you're working on their blind side. We've done some studies and some playing with this, and it's been terrific and very insightful. So what you want to be able to do is look and see, where do I feel my power? Where do I feel like I'm out of balance? And especially, now a lot of styles really don't like the twisting footwork. And I agree, if I do this and I come back here, I'm off balance. I've got this straight line and my weight is up, I'm off balance. If I were just to take this a little bit more, but sink my weight, feel that weight shift, be conscious about this, and I feel myself into the ground, I am much more steady. And I can begin to move as I feel like I need to. And that comes more from the Indonesian arts, say, from more as opposed to some of my other Jujitsu. So I just want to share this, some ways to move, some practices to do. You can still take that same platform and just begin to work different movements on it. Begin to play with distances. Here, nobody's ever going to get hurt because I can't reach him. And if I can't reach him, he can't reach me, given that we're using the same length weapons. However, and this is a safe range. This is where you're feeling things out. If I'm here, where I can make contact, he can make contact. Now this is where all the fun stuff happens, all right? So, but you also have lots of vulnerabilities that you have to constantly watch out for. There's going to be times I'm going to move out, I'm going to move in. I'm going to move out, I'm going to move in. I'm going to move out, I'm going to move in. All right? So you'll play with that. And notice when I went back here, when I came forward, I did it as a check to come in, to then get my cut. I can do that if I do it wisely, if I do it with skill, with intelligence. If I just do it reactionary, in a reactionary moment or mood, then I open myself up to serious damage. So just some thoughts that I'll leave you with. Thank you much. If you like what you see, feel free to like us, subscribe, and we'll continue to try and put some informative, intelligent work out. Thank you.